long time ago, something was lost, but not forgotten. Remembered in tales, in stories and legends. Some have chosen to forget. Others strive to keep it alive. But now the time has come to reclaim what was disposed.
Hello and welcome to Blackman's Bay Studios, and in the latest of our minisodes we're focusing in on a man who had a big influence on a lot of people, including us too, didn't he, Keith?
Big time as well, big time. And we put a picture of him up there, but here's another picture of Bill if you want to have a look at him. There's Bill, there you are. What about that?
Oh yeah, is that Henry Fonda? I can never tell.
Oh yeah, no,
I can never tell.
I could never tell the difference between the two of them.
Well, no, the only time was in the Partridge or the Footscray Club, because I don't remember Henry Fonda ever going in the Partridge or the Footscray Club. Can you, Keith? No, I don't think
once. Maybe once.
Maybe once, yeah.
But as Mick said, Bill had a big influence on our lives. I mean, if you take out your family, you know, as influencing you. At some stage in your life you've got people that will influence what you do and how you become a sort of mature person, if you like, and Bill was certainly one of them. Yeah. You know, I had about 3 in my life and Bill was one of them. I mean, we used to, in the Partridge, he was, you know, he was the go-to man for us, wasn't he?
He was like a patriarch, yeah.
Yeah, he was the go-to man, and because Bill was very much involved in the darts scene early on, because he was he was a Partridge A-team player, should I say, and played in a very, very good Partridge A-team. And then he took over the B-team for us. When we started the B-team, Bill said, well, Bill was a skipper and he didn't play much, he played the odd game, but he was your manager, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was, yeah.
And
the unusual thing was, because he was the older generation and we were sort of all the young lads not long out of school and maybe into our 20s and that, and everybody sort of warmed to him straight away, and everyone respected him greatly, didn't they? Yeah, you know, he was a great laugh as well.
Oh,
let's not forget that.
You know, we'll come to that, but you know what? You know, when he put this, well, we put this team together, and he actually took us all under his wing, if you like. You know, we're talking Slater, you know, Roger Elsey. You know, Keith Wright played, didn't he? Yeah. You know, so there was quite a few players that actually came through, and we'll talk a bit more. But in the end, that team actually became a very, very good Partridge A team that won Kent 6-a-side and semi-final of the All Great Britain 6-a-side, mate. Yeah. You know, for a pub team, that's not bad, is it?
Yeah, it's very good. Yeah.
And it was funny back in the days, mate. Tell us. Let's have the story then. Go on, mate. Let's start it off. Tell us the story of the 2 Bob.
Yeah, the famous 2 Bob story. Well, I walked in the Partridge one night for a dart match, and I think I only had a £5 in my pocket or 2 £1 notes, something like that. I never had any change. And as I walked up to the bar, I think Keith, as normal, he'd say, "Get me a pint." And straight away Bill came over and said, "Have you got your 2 Bob, Mick?" Because that was the subs we paid each week, 2 Bob. And I went, "Oh no, I haven't got any change. I'll when I get around in, I'll give you the 2 Bob." He said, "Yeah, well, don't forget, will you?" I went, "Oh no, I'm not going to forget."
Every time he walked in, every Monday nights, 2 Bob. First thing he said to you, not "Hello Keith, hello Mick," was saying 2 Bob. You know, Slater up there, 2 Bob, come on. Yeah. And he got it out of us in the end, didn't he?
Well, going back to this evening, sort of half a pint later, Bill comes up to me again, says, you got that too, Bob, Mick? I said, no, hold on. I said, you know, I've only got half a bite. Straight away, he owned in on me. He knew that I bit there, you know. And because then that was it. He was always on at me for 2 bob and that. And we had quite a successful season, and we had a presentation night down the Footscray Club. And I thought, I'm going to get that bastard. And so what I did, I bought a cheap little picture frame, about, I don't know, 3-4 inches square, and I put a 2 bob coin in it, not 10 pence. I mean, we're talking 2 bob now, and I put the 2 bob in it on the black background. And after the presentation, we had another presentation for Bill, where as a team we presented him with this framed 2 bob bit. And he thought it was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, he loved it. Yeah.
Years later, even after he died, Elsie, his wife, told me that he treasured that. He thought that was a fantastic gesture, and he really loved it. It pride a place on top of the television.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. It was.
Yeah.
So on a Monday night, we're there one Monday night, and Kenny Osborne's brother walks in, and he said to Bill, he said, "Bill, can you lend us £1?" He said, "I'll give it to you Friday." So I said, "Yeah, all right." So I give him £1. And Friday came, Bill was up the bar, and Richard Osborne walks in. He goes straight up, first thing he did, straight up to him, give him the £1. And lovely, Monday came, Bill, lend us £1. So Bill, he said, "I'll give it to you Friday," gives you another £1. Friday comes, he gives straight up to Bill, gives him £1. And this went on for a few weeks, you know, and he give him £1 on the Monday, and on the Friday he walks in, he got the £1 in his hand, he walked up to Bill, and Bill said, "Keep the fucking £1. He said, "It's in your pocket more than it is my bastard. Keep the fucking thing." He never asked him anymore, did he? So we had a good dart team. Not quite as good as the A team at that particular time, but we were getting there.
Yeah. And
we played one game against them towards the end of the season, and we've set 1,001 best of 3, and it's 1-1. We should have won by a country mile. We had that many darts at the double to beat them. Anyway, we didn't. So Bill goes home, fuming, absolutely fuming. Elsie says, he's walked in the kitchen. Elsie said, "Do you want some cream crackers for supper?" And Bill grabbed hold of this box of cream crackers, Jacobs,
of course,
scrunched them up and stamped them into the kitchen floor. "Fuck the cream crackers," he's going, "fuck the cream crackers." And even today, when I go into a supermarket and I see cream crackers, I always think of Bill.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that we say, we do, that do remind us of Bill.
Bill, yeah.
Things we do together, like, you know, winding up our wives and things like that. I notice you do. I've come over here a few times and you've said something to Anne, and I've said, "I'll say that to Sandy." You know,
yeah.
They buy it every time, don't they?
And it all came from Bill.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
And you know, like I say, our dart team went on to become the A team, and we melded.
Yeah.
You know, when the league went to seven points a week, the old A team couldn't really adapt to that. No. So anyway, we melded. We became very successful. First season, won the league. No, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, a few of us went on to play for the county, and I remember I was playing for Kent down at Kent A team down at Footscray Club, and I was standing at the bar, and Bill's standing there, just in earshot. He was. This bloke, I don't know, I can't remember what county it was, might have played Surrey or somebody. This bloke says, he said, "He's a good player, isn't he, that bloke there?" And old Bill went, "One of my boys." And, and we was always one of his boys, you know.
Yeah.
Even when I went down, I think, to the Kent Champion of Champions, he was saying, "One of my boys," like, you know.
Yeah.
You know, he was funny, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
So, let's get on to I suppose the real guts of some of the stuff with Bill was working for Deadman, Nick.
Yes, now, we all worked for Deadman at that time. George Deadman Senior, that is. Now he had a son named George as well, didn't he?
Hmm.
And he had a special nickname for him, didn't he?
Yeah. And he called him Plonker. Now we're talking now a decade before the term was even used by Del Boy for Rodney, wasn't it?
Yeah, because, you know, Plonker had its own, you know, it was the gentleman's sausage, wasn't it? But because I said to Bill once, because I've never heard it used in that, you know, called someone like that before, and I said to him once, because being naive as I was at the time, I said, Bill, why do you keep calling him Plonker? He said, because he is a fucking plonker.
I used to rib George Senior something wicked over him, and George bit every time, didn't he? You know, he bit every time, and you know, and talk to us about trapping, Mick.
Yeah, well, Bill was the past master of
undisputed king, wasn't he?
Yeah, of getting the job done and getting the trap, which is to wrap up and go home. You know, so he was always looking for the trap. So. You know, when you're doing a job that's, say, a job and knock, it's on, and then you work to that end. And he was the past master, and the trap to me is Bill's terminology, and I still use it to this day.
And the other, because Bill was like I say, an expert at getting the job done, wasn't he? You know, or just make sure you got the job done. And Parliament House, Mick.
Yeah, Parliament House, and this just goes to show
how inventive he is.
Yeah, very inventive. Yeah. Doing a job at Parliament House that had to be finished that night, and the system had to be running, ready for the next day's sitting, and the supplier had failed to supply one of the flexible connections to this fan. So.
And just clarify for those people that don't know what a flexible connection is. If you get a fan going and it's got to be connected to a bit of duct, you've got a lot of vibration. So they put a flexible connector in so that sort of dissipates any of the vibration.
Yes, that's right. Yeah,
for those who don't know, you know.
So Bill wandered off in the House of Commons. You know, come on, to find something to take the place of this flexible connection. And he found an old overcoat, and he also found some wire. So he wrapped the overcoat round the fan connection, wrapped some wire around it, tied it up with a pair of pliers, and that was done. So the system worked, it ran, and there was never ever a comeback about it. So I don't know what happened to that.
Probably still there today,
probably still,
you know,
well, actually,
out.
Isn't the House of Commons undergoing a $5 billion makeup? Perhaps they'll
Well,
find Bill's old coat.
That's what they'll probably find about.
Yeah.
I was doing a job with Bill one Sunday, believe it or not. Didn't often work on a Sunday, but this day we went over to Park Royal, and it was Charlie Emery, me, Bill, and there was somebody else. I can't remember who else it was. Anyway, go over to this bloody place, and it's all locked up. There's a wall, there's a fence around it. Nobody there, and Bill thought he could see some movement inside this factory where we had to go, and there was a car in there, but we just couldn't get in. So me being the youngest, there was a hole in the fence, so we pulled it open, and I've run through this, and I've got through this fence, and in the yard there's a few lorries and vans and things like that, and I hadn't gone 10 foot when Bill goes, "Guard dog!" Me, panicked, shit myself. I've jumped straight up on the top of this lorry, right up on the top of the cab of the lorry, right, like that. And Bill and Emery are pissing themselves laughing. There wasn't a guard dog, of course, but you know, they was laughing and pissing themselves, you know. And for weeks afterwards, I'd walk in the park, just stand at the bar, and old Bill Beach come up there and go, "Woof, woof." And then we did this big job at Queen Hive, remember?
Yeah.
And it was a big job, and we had to put these. It was all flats. We had to put these risers for the uninitiated. What is a riser? You know.
It's a metal trunking that rises through the building that takes exhaust air from toilets and bathrooms away to atmosphere.
Yeah, simple, isn't it? And this was it's quite a tall building. I don't know how many floors it was. And I thought, how are we going to get in this place to put these risers in? Next thing, Bill, being an old trunker, you know, he's laid all this stuff out on the floor, and he's got us pop riveting, you know, one big long bit, next thing you know, whoomp, it's up, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I wasn't mad, you know, I mean, that's okay, that's the name of the game, isn't it?
Yeah, I have to say, having worked with Bill for many years, Bill's actual skill level, his actual ability to, with his hands, wasn't that high, and that's where I came in. But where Bill came in, and where Bill taught me well, is how to plan a job, how to look forward. Are there any problems up front? Are you going to come to anything later on?
How can we get home early?
Yeah. But that's Bill. That was Bill's forte, and he was bloody good at it. And I have to say, he passed that on to me, and I wouldn't be here today if it weren't for him. I can tell you.
What about Dennis Reba? Was that at Queen Knife, Mick? I think it was. Was it at Queen Knife?
Yeah, I can't remember. Yeah, Dennis Reba. Now, Dennis Reba was a supervisor in the docks, wasn't he?
It was a life docker when he had to drop the life
man
after
and boy.
You know.
And he used to work for Deadman when he had a few days off. If he wanted to earn a bit of pin money, bit of beer money, he'd go work.
It was terrible. Though. I mean, I weren't a good, you know, but dear oh Lord.
He was working with Bill. Told me he said he was murder. He said he was working with Bill, and Bill was up a ladder, putting something through a wall, and he got down off the ladder. And he said, where are you going? He said, I'm just going to go in the room next door. He said, well, what do I do? He said, you just wait here. I'm just going to go in the room next door. He said, you won't leave, will you? He said, I'm not going to leave without you. What are you talking about? He said, well, I'll tell you what. He said, while you're in there, can you whistle so I know you're there? I mean, this is a grown man, isn't it? You know, that's weird, isn't it?
I know. Unbelievable. And then there was the time he cut himself, Bill, didn't he?
Yeah. Yes,
I think you was. Yeah, well, I wasn't there, but you were there.
I was there.
So go on.
He cut himself on his hand somewhere, and you know when you say something and you don't really mean it in a literal sense, because he's got this cut and he starts bleeding, and I said, "Oh, what's that? What's that?" And he said, "That's blood. What do you think it is?" I said, "Well, I've never seen blood like that. It was coming out. It weren't quite black because you could just see a tinge of red in it, but." Because he drank bottled Guinness all the time, his blood was virtually black. But not only that, if you say blood had a consistency of, say, milk, well, his blood had the consistency of something like yoghurt. I mean, it was that thick. I mean, it cut himself. It's quite a cut. And instead of just bleeding out, it just clogged straight away.
Yeah.
And that might have been what done him in the end, because he died of a heart attack. And it might have been his blood couldn't get round properly.
Well, see, Bill drank a lot of Guinness. He was the only person I'd ever known to drink cold Guinness. I mean, it's like a fad now, isn't it? Drinking cold Guinness. But he was the only one. Him and Charlie Emery was the only ones I knew that used to drink cold Guinness. Yeah. You know, Fred Payne used to have to religiously put it on the cold shelf for him, didn't he?
Yeah.
And if anybody took one of them, yeah. You know.
And there's another thing when working with him for so many years is that we used to go down the pub for a couple of pints every lunchtime, and I started drinking bottled Guinness because you can't, if you've got a bloke drinking bottled Guinness, you can't drink pints of lager or something like light and bitters with that. So I've got a taste for it, and it is a very nice drink, I have to say. Yeah. And we both still drink Guinness today, don't we? That's another legacy that Bill's passed on. Still enjoy, especially draft Guinness. It's a beautiful drink.
We Friday nights, especially Friday nights in the Partridge, Deadman had come in, and you know, Bill used to wind him up something wicked, you know. And if Deadman had a row with the missus, first he used to do is come in, he'd be steaming, wouldn't he, Deadman? Yeah. He'd go straight over to the jukebox, which a jukebox wasn't allowed when Fred Payne was there. I mean, we only had a jukebox after Fred Payne went. Yeah. And straight up to the jukebox, put the 2-bob in, from a jack to a king. Yeah. And he'd play it maybe 3 or 4 times, and Bill used to wind him up saying, had a row with the missus
down to Toronto tonight?
Down to Toronto Hotel tonight, are you George? Oh, you know. And that was, you know, that was old, but he did. I mean, he used to wind Fred Payne up, didn't he, about his bollock, you know.
Yeah.
You know.
Perhaps we better explain, Fred Payne was the original landlord of the Partridge, and he had one bollock which would have been that big, and that's no exaggeration, is it?
I think it's even. I think you're under doing it. I think it was bigger than that. But.
And what it was, Fred Payne was terrified of having an operation, and that's why he would never have it done. So when he bent over to stock up the shelves, you could look over the bar like that, and in his trousers you see this dirty, great big bollock. And Bill used to rib him terrible about it. Didn't he? I mean, I never ever said anything because he was very sensitive about it, wasn't he? Yeah. But Bill, you know. He was straight in.
Oh, it was funny. It was funny. And of course, anything you wanted down the club, Mick. You know.
Yes, yeah. So, although Bill had his little crew in the, like Dennis Reber, Charlie Emery, and Timmy Platt's dad. Was his dad's name Trevor as well?
No, it was Tim. His dad,
Tim. Right. Okay, I knew he had the same name. And they were sitting at the table, but down the club. Bill was like a patriarch down there as well, which is unusual, isn't it? Yeah. And I believe in one of the other minisodes, I told you the story about how me and my girlfriend at the time, Sandy, got slung out of the club for getting in on Ray Slater's card. Now, the club at the time had a 1,000-member limit, and they had 1,000 members. So you had to wait till people either left, died, or resigned, or whatever. So when I got slung out, I said to Bill, lapsy. I said to Bill, can you get us a membership? And he got me one just like that in a couple of days. I just go down there, I was in. Yeah, and that's Bill was the go-to man down there.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. He was. So that's Bill, but you ought to tell the story of Sandy and Bill.
Yeah. Now, I told you about Bill and his fascination for the word plonker. Well, he had a fascination about another word, and that was bollocks for some reason. He just loved that word. And when I was going out with Sandy, Bill who knew Sandy's dad, he's Welsh, he's from Wales. Right?
Welsh Wales.
Yeah, Welsh Wales. And he would make comments to Sandy. And she said something to me one night and said, you know, why does Bill keep on at me about that? You know, I said, look, if you're fed up with it, just say bollocks, and that will stop it. So we was leaving the club one Saturday night, went through the door out of the dance hall, and Bill was standing in the corner with Elsie, and he had another little crew round him as usual, and we stopped and said hello and a little chat, and he made some comment to Sandy, and Sandy did it just the right way. She walked through the little knot of people, went up to him, went up like that and said bollocks in his ear, and he absolutely loved it. And from then on, he absolutely loved Sandy. And I remember walking out of the club and I looked round and he was laughing his head off. He really loved that, and that really just say, you know, you could give it back and he'd take it, and he didn't actually enjoy it, and that was what made him different, wasn't it? Yeah,
well, I mean, and like I say, you know, put your parents and that aside, he was for us, he was the go-to man. Taught us, you know, like I say, I wouldn't probably be half the person I am today if it wasn't for Bill.
I think I grew up a lot around Bill, and because of Bill, I think I grew up from some right greenhorn into, you know, and I work-wise and as a person as well.
Yeah, exactly right. You know, and he was a huge part of that, wasn't he?
Yeah,
like everybody liked him. I don't think I knew anybody who didn't like him.
No, that's right. Yeah, you know, I mean, when he died, which was about 80. I'm not sure if it was 83 or
82.
82. I mean, I don't know how old he was. He was under 60, wasn't
he? Yeah, I think he was.
Yeah, I mean, it was a blow to a lot of people. It's a sad time. But we still remember Bill to this day. We still got a lot of his ways about us, and like Keith said about the crackers, he sees Jacob's crackers in the supermarket, he remembers Bill. I mean, how many people can you say that about? You know, that you can look at something and remember someone like that after all these years.
Yeah, it's you know, it's amazing. Anyway, I think that's Bill, isn't it?
Yes, I think it is.
You know, so thanks for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it.
Yes, thanks for watching.
Look forward to all your comments, don't we?
Yes, we enjoy your comments, good or bad, we don't mind.
I'm even going to share this with Ray Vanner.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Oh,
so
good.
He's not a member of the Craig group, but I'll I'll make sure Ray gets a copy of it, or has a look at a copy of it.
Yeah.
Okay, see you later. Bye.
This has been a Blackman's Bay studio production.